I asked you all on Twitter and YouTube, what would Halo Infinite need to achieve in order to meet fan expectations? Not everyone is in the same boat about the franchise, and we all have a variety of different perspectives about what makes Halo special, unique, or fun. I have my own opinions, which influence a lot of my videos, and I have my own set of expectations that I feel Halo Infinite must achieve. But this isn't about me. This is the feedback that you all gave me, and let's go through some of the most popular comments. Number 1, the content. Despite my personal dislike of Halo 5, it has its audience who actively play it. It helps that Halo 5 currently has a lot of tools in-game that allow it to provide a variety of content without the need for title updates. Forge and custom games in Halo 5 are strong. It wasn't like this originally, though. Halo 5 was a very different game at launch, and it remained that way for a while. Halo 5 was the first Halo game since Halo 2 where players had to use Honor Rule Infection, since the game didn't ship with it, and it took 343 over half a year to patch it into the game. This was an unacceptable side effect of how the multiplayer team developed the multiplayer during development, which we will get into later, but Halo 5's launch is not a thing fans want to repeat. The content needs to be there this time. Expected. Launch modes like Infection, ball-type game modes, Firefight, etc., cannot be post-launch DLC, and if Halo Infinite is to be successful, it needs to not only meet Halo 5's current community toolset and variety, but surpass it. Number 2, the story needs to be cohesive and accessible this time around. The last few years have seen Halo crawl out of the narrative blast zone left behind by Halo 5's poor story. And despite the last few years of healing being relatively good for the series, fans are naturally cautious this time around. Infinite has a lot to prove. So far, it's on the right track. Interviews and developer quotes over the last few years indicate that 343 will be using Infinite as kind of a soft reboot for the narrative direction and style of storytelling. To do this and rope fans in, the game must have a clear and understandable story. Halo 5's main cast of characters were introduced in novels and expanded upon in those novels, and it used that in place of giving them in-game motivations and characterization, and even then, the characters in-game were very stilted and kind of off when compared to their book incarnations. The people who read the book were very confused as to why the characters are so weirdly written in the game, and the casual fans don't even know who these people are and don't care. I saw the word cohesive used when describing what people want out of the story, and this is something I can get behind. It's very easy to get lost when you're playing as new characters the game assumes you know already, who are dropping lore terms like mantle of responsibility to the precursors of the GS of the reclamation of the warrior service. Slow down a little bit, drop some of the big words, let casual fans catch up. This doesn't mean that the story cannot pool on expanded universe ideas, but what it needs to do this time around, introduce them in more cohesive and understandable ways. Fans need to be roped in. The story can't just assume that you already are. Number 3, the gameplay. This was a topic that was quite divided, which I expected. Community discourse can sometimes lead to echo chambers forming, where like-minded fans will tend to group up around the same forums and internet pages, and this can lead to a misconception that, well, everyone in this Reddit thread is saying the same stuff, so we must be the majority. This isn't actually the case, and Halo's community is big, which leads to a lot of sub-communities with their own views. Some really appreciate Halo 5 shifting towards more of a standard Twitch shooter model like Call of Duty or Battlefield, which works in favor of those with good reactionary time. Some, though, really like when Halo's gameplay was more limited, and variety and skill came from how you overcome your limited moveset by taking advantage of the sandbox and map around you. One common agreement that I saw between these two groups is that Halo 5 went way too far in its competitive focus and built a Halo experience that didn't really allow for people to slow down. You were either being super aggressive or you were being killed. It's as simple as that. This is great for super aggressive players, but it alienated fans of the more variety-focused older Halo games that had a lot of flexibility when it came to casual and competitive. This bled into how other modes performed as well. Due to the multiplayer team's laser focus on their competitive modes, they failed to allow their game to provide social and casual relaxing experiences. Warzone, the supposed social mode, is a try-hard, sweaty mess. Big Team Battle is very much the same way, and Social Slayer isn't distinguishable from Ranked Slayer. Competitive Halo is good, ranked playlists are a lot of fun, the HCS brings in 343 a lot of money, but the multiplayer team needs to broaden their scopes. They need to understand that competitive, ranked matchmaking is not all that Halo is. Think about the big picture. Halo is not just its competitive multiplayer. And finally, unsurprisingly, is microtransactions. This is a topic that has a lot of anxiety behind it. 2019 was a fantastic year for single-player games and just games in general that provided exceptional experiences for the price tag paid. However, with the shift away from gambling like loot boxes, live service multiplayer games have seemingly gotten more aggressive with their microtransaction models. Gears of War 5 has put its player base in a really unhealthy place emotionally with its inappropriately aggressive in-game store, and the less we talk about Fallout 76, the better. Players who pay money for their games are getting tired of finding a compromised game experience that insists that all in-game roads eventually lead to that in-game store. Games Pass has people especially worried, since that means that most players will be able to play the game without paying $60, which conjures fear of a free-to-play like in-game model. Not everybody will be using Games Pass. Some people will be paying $60 US or more for the game and do not want to be greeted with a rotating store offering day one $20 cosmetic item purchases. If Halo Infinite is using a free-to-play like in-game economy due to Games Pass allowing people to play the game essentially for free, it also needs to have a system in-game to respect those who did pay $60 for the game. 343 needs to be delicate and seriously read the room when it comes to community responses to recent multiplayer monetization models. This was the most commented thing in my expectations request. People are very anxious about the microtransactions model and want 343 to handle it very delicately. The first year and a half of Halo 5 was a very frustrating time for the Halo community, and it set Halo Infinite up with high community expectations if the game wishes to be received better than Halo 5. 343 has a lot to prove after 5 years of development, and hopefully they can match the reasonable expectations of fans, or at least provide a game most can agree is a massive improvement over their last outing. What expectations do you have for Halo Infinite? Let me down below, and I'll see you guys on the next video.